the light's not on.
To call to order the Monday, February 19th, 2018 meeting of the City of Monona Finance and Personnel Committee. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Holmquist?
Here.
Alder Wood?
Here.
Mayor O'Connor?
Here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from February 5th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
You mean January 16th? Wait a minute, I got the wrong one open here, sorry. Yeah, second.
Any corrections, additions? All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There are no appearances, no unfinished business, new business. Item 6A, discussion on hiring, contracting for building inspection services. And I think City Administrator Little and I agreed to just put this on for the purposes of discussion for some guidance and what we should do going forward. So April, do you want to?
Sure. So we looked at several options. One, retaining a firm such as General Engineering or Safe Built. Looking at retaining an independent inspector in a relationship with another community, and then retaining an independent contractor just on our own. And after doing all of the comparisons, I reached out to all the Dane County region communities, reached out to Safe Built, checked a bunch of references, generally just put a lot of time into it. I provided this comparison of the proposals, the pros and cons, and I think no matter which way you go, there's going to be pros and cons. But we were recommending going with General Engineering Company. Initially, what they wanted to do was a revenue split, but if we agree to a revenue split model for financing, then in a year like we have with Tresta or will have with Riverfront, then we lose a great deal of revenue that is coming in. It's more cost effective to go with their second proposal, which was just a flat dollar rate, which would be $70 per hour. In a slower year, we average about 16 hours a week, up to about 20 hours per week, so that we usually never go farther than that. I think it would have been a very good idea also to enter another relationship with another community similar to we did with McFarland, and just for the benefit of the audience, McFarland wants more of our current inspectors' time because their building activity has picked up. But I wasn't able to find a community out there at this time where it was the right time for them to explore this. So kind of hit a bit of a dead end at that. And then I provided some costs just that kind of show what the last few years would have looked like in terms of cost recovery with a few of these different finance models as we have kind of compared in this document.
So any questions? Brian?
In the cost analysis,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I just didn't read it correctly, the difference between the salary line and the inspection service line?
Yeah, so I'll explain that. So in the salaries line, that is what we pay for our commercial electrical inspector, who is a fellow who's contracted just as we need him, and for our property maintenance services. So that explains the salaries in the FICA. So the inspection services are related to the contract that we have with McFarland for services.
And are the code enforcement services, they were broken out in 2014 and 2015, but they're included in salaries for 2016 and 2017?
Yeah, they
Is
were
that right?
moved up there.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And just in terms of reference, I have worked with General Engineering in the past, for my past two communities, and I've never had any issues with them. I think one of the advantages that they have is that, you know, they have several people, so that if somebody is sick or unavailable, you know, they can fill in, and they have some specialists if you have some difficult issues that you find come up. And if we went to one person, those things would be much more difficult.
And then we also thought about issues like if the one person is on vacation or whatever, then we need to find someone to fill in for them. I thought, at least for now, maybe it makes sense to just contract with general engineering and kind of see how things play out over the next year or two. It may be that there is somebody from Cottage Grove or whatever who we could eventually partner up with, but right now that doesn't look real feasible, but it might in the future.
I think Cottage Grove is probably our best bet here locally, but they're just not quite there yet. They're in a similar position we're in, but they're not there yet with their person retiring. So they weren't able to do it at this time. And then I think we'll probably stabilize a little bit more in our workload.
And of course, all of these other communities all have space to grow too, so we could easily run into what we ran into with McFarland, where they're just doing more building and need more of the time. But that's something, we'll just have to see what plays out in the future.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Doug?
Yeah, question, or two. So if we went with general engineering, would they do the commercial electrical inspection as well?
We'd have the option of keeping our current inspector. He's interested in staying on, and his hourly rate is less than the rate for general engineering. So I think it would be our benefit to keep on our current property maintenance person and our commercial electrical inspector. But if sometime should come that he moves on, then that would be an option to pick up that service with general engineering. It's always in my experience, it's always been a separate person. It's a real specialty to have that commercial electrical skill, so.
What are we paying, what are we currently paying per hour for the building inspector? Yeah.
I want to say it comes out to more like $50 some per hour, I think, is with the benefits and and the expenses, yeah.
We don't pay his benefits though, or do we? How's that?
No, well, we get a bill we do pay benefits. Basically, he's an official employee of the Village of McFarland, so they
Right.
send us a bill every month, which
So
is,
they cover it, but then we reimburse. them,
Correct,
So it
it's
is
in that.
built in there.
yeah, about $4,000 to $5,000 per month we pay.
So how many hours does he usually work?
He is, he's Monday, used to, before he's kind of gradually went to McFarland, was always 8 to noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and then noon to, 4 or 5 on Tuesday, Thursdays. So he would have office hours and then do inspections.
He told me to figure, 16 hours in a regular year and 20 in a busier year, approximately, to use those figures as a guideline. So now he's basically dropped Wednesday off because it's
Right.
been slower.
Right. It was 20 hours per week. So we had
Mhm.
20. McFarland had 20. That was the original agreement.
So what do we get for the extra $20 an hour? It's- I know, it just,
I didn't think what you were asking here.
well, it's a lot more expensive basically. So.
It is. It's still a better model in terms of cost recovery than a revenue sharing like a safe built would do.
Right, oh yeah.
I guess one thing that I'm thinking is, you have other levels of expertise. So if you have a difficult court case, they have other people in the company that are very experienced that will assist with those cases. They have the backup. But, essentially it is an inspection service, and we don't have to worry about, the balance with another community. If it gets super busy and they get overwhelmed, they can just bring in more people. If you have one person, you don't have that flexibility.
Do we know where they would be working out of?
They are bringing on a new inspector now who is local to this area. So, they're out of Portage, but they have somebody coming on board that they have in mind for us who would be more Madison-based. So that would reduce some of the travel time. And they were willing to come down and make a presentation, too, at the next meeting, if you'd like.
Yeah. Yeah, they mentioned something about travel time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, if they're coming from Portage, we would, or they expect us to pay for that? Because it's,
They told me that it was part of the contract negotiations, and we haven't gotten that far until we
Okay.
start negotiating. Bill, I know you just negotiated one with Windsor. Do you remember offhand what they were charging them for? Or how that worked?
I don't know for sure. I don't believe they paid for mileage, but I don't recall.
Yeah, it seems like it wasn't that much, but they said specifically they have a local person, so that would help offset that cost a little bit. So I don't think it's based
Yeah.
from Portage.
Okay, because, yeah, to me, that's a non-starter to, like, paying mileage for somebody to go back and forth to Portage.
Yeah.
It's,
No, I don't believe that would be the case.
it's- Oh, so Mark, how much more would this be for the budget next year?
I don't know offhand.
Okay, well, we're gonna have it back next time, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're just wondering if you think we should pursue a contract with general engineering or have them come in anyway to make a presentation or
Question.
Alder Holmquist?
So I understand the hourly rate and it makes sense that it's more expensive than something that's more of a static number. How would office hours work for people that need drop-in? And how would we advertise? Like, would we shift some of the responsibilities to someone else for that piece?
Honestly, they'd really do it however we said. You know, if we said we want them here, 2 days a week for 4 hours or every Friday, I mean, that would be part of the final contract and negotiation. I'm sure they'd be willing to do whatever they would say. One of the advantages, too, of going with the firm is, for example, like they have clerical services. So if we have to do, mass mailing or something like that, they do have that office support, which we do not have now, so.
Mhm.
And that's been an issue, so.
I think the advantage of the backup is huge. We've run into that already, where when we have an inspector out, that having someone to be able to carry on those duties is very important. So that piece, I mean, I understand the cost difference, but the advantage or the pros regarding that is big compared to hiring in-house or sharing,
Right.
which we've run into.
But right now Marty's out for a few weeks and we have called on the guy who fills in for him, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, I think it's worth having them come in next time and probably pursuing that. I mean, for this much money, if there was somebody we could hire that had the skills to cover the various types of inspections, I'd prefer to do that, but that's always been the challenge with these, this position. So, I do think it would be important to have them in the office, pretty much like Marty has been. So we have, just to help maintain some control, but.
Well, and frankly, how it works, in my experience is, we can assign office hours, the rest of the time, though, they're available by phone and laptop. So, I mean,
Right.
they're sort of always available, but then they'll bring in their own equipment even, and then they have their office hours. And I just ran a really quick calculation, like, say, $72 an hour, just putting in a couple dollars extra for expenses, times 832, we get like almost $60,000. So yes, a little more expensive than what we have now, but not tremendously. We still come out ahead in a trace the year, let's call it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And we aren't locked in forever
Right.
Yeah.
either. So if we want to make a change.
Would it be a one-year contract?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I generally make those type of things. They're 1 year automatic renewable, but then the city can terminate, for the city's convenience upon 30 days notice.
And Mark, previously, when, I can't remember if it was a firm out of Milwaukee, we used to have another firm that provided this service for us, and how comparable is this?
Independent inspection we used to have. Theirs was a little bit different. I believe there were 90/10 or 80/20, and then there was a year of Walmart. So anything over a certain dollar amount was it was like 60/40. So there was different levels for different type fees we had in there. But I believe it was, I could be wrong, it was either, I think it was 80/20, and then anything over a certain dollar amount was negotiated. to like either 60/40 or 50/50. I don't remember offhand, but there was a negotiated rate for larger permits.
I'm sorry, it was 80/20, it was 90/10 for the longest time. And then we negotiated it down to 80/20,
Yeah,
meaning they kept 80% of the permit revenue, we took 20. And then, as Mark says, above a certain threshold, then it was sort of negotiated on a project-by-project basis.
correct.
And that relationship ended more on the city's desire or on the contractor's desire?
My recollections, maybe I can be wrong, is one was they wanted somebody in-house. More office hours was a big concern they had at that time.
Mhm.
Was the office hours was a concern to have somebody there, because I believe they're only there like 2 days out of 5 or something at the time, or and they wanted, we were having some larger projects, and Mayor Call was the mayor at the time, and I think he was thinking we could get more money by doing some, by bringing it in-house or working with McFarland.
All right, thanks.
And for the record, they don't exist anymore, so they're
Okay.
not in business. So, not an option.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, so I guess see if they can come in next
Mhm.
time, and are we going to start working on a contract then?
I would encourage us to begin.
Yeah, I would
sure.
think so. So, okay. Do we need a vote on that?
There was no motion.
Okay. Do we need a motion, or
I'd say it's the first.
since we
reading,
just
so-
direct them to go ahead and, okay. Next, item 6B, convene and close session under Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, paren 1, paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is regarding the Galway Development Agreement Amendment for the Riverfront Amendment, development. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Can't find
Would
his
the clerk
name
please
in
call the
uniform.
roll?
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Motion passes. We are in closed session. All right, is there a motion to move this item on to the council?
I would move to recommend approval of the amended agreement to the council.
Second?
All in favor, any other questions or discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. We are going to delay acceptance of the bills till next time. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.